Hello and welcome back to Let's Play Kingsblood with me, BringItDon. Let's grab our last reward from Ivy Garden. Another 510 Arcanium. Some purple pants. Max health plus 75, armor plus 20, move speed plus 3, and health regen plus 6 per second. And now, Alkmaar.
Are you sure to go on this mission yet? There will be no return.
Yes, let's go for this final quest.
It feels like undead hordes are protecting this place.
I think it is not only a feeling.
Can't pause it. As the group enters the scenery, a pulsating crystal hovers in the middle of the plateau.
Stay out of this! I'm taking care of the fate of this kingdom.
What on earth is happening here?
I don't know, Jason Momoa.
Is it really you?
Ignore him, Alra. We are almost done.
Yes, it is her. I will make her the way she used to be. I'll make everything right again. Everything in this rotten kingdom. And now, leave this place.
What are you talking about?
Necromancy. She will never be the way she used to be.
Don't listen to them. These are the people responsible for the attacks on Helbert and Bogard. They do not want you to succeed.
How often should I repeat it? Go away, or Ruka will never fully come back to life again.
Just a bit more.
They are trying to rip Moriel's soul out of Grimgard. We have to stop them.
Listen, sister. Stop this nonsense. Give us the artifact.
Shut up! I can't take this anymore!
We are gonna stop them.
See what they are trying to do? They want to take it away from you. The artifact, the seal of unlimited power, your power.
Alra! We are your family. If Grimgard breaks, the world will be doomed.
We are so close.
Please, Alra. Don't let this happen.
You all right? What am I still doing here? Stop it, Narano! We have to stop it!
You little brat! How dare you!
Ah!
It is too late now. The ritual is complete.
No, please. I'm so sorry.
You have done it! It is broken!
Narano and Alra's combined efforts, the soul of Moriel has been ripped out of the ancient crystal. With a dull sound, the crystal falls to the ground.
What is going on? Narano?
Finally free.
My naive Alra, you have been a good little puppet. Did you really think you would gain special powers after Grimgard was broken?
But, Rilka...
It wasn't that hard to make a dance. I only needed you to break the barrier. That was out of my own capabilities. Thank you, my child. You did a good job.
You betrayed me. You soulless monster.
Alra! Are you alright?
I'm so sorry.
I have summoned the great Gaolash. With him under my control, I will rule this world.
Silence, human.
Huh?
It has been you who has been my puppet for years now.
But how is this possible? I did everything according to the ancient scriptures.
Even more foolish than I thought. I grant you the honor. Be the first soul I consume after this long slumber.
The great demon Gaolash has arisen. We have to defeat him before he regains all his strength.
Our world is at stake. We cannot lose this.
The end is near. So I'm assuming it'll act like the guild hall defense where we can use multiple teams if the first one fails. I don't know if it's going to be the single target or not. If it is, then Boris is probably one of the better ones to bring. Curia. Bring a few single target archers and Frog. Maybe Horse. Now let's do 2 more archers instead. Make Boris a little tankier. Alright, all the attack damage will be on Jorla. Whoops. I will do this. I'll try to keep Boris alive like that, and attack damage potions galore. I probably shouldn't be using all my best. Yeah, let's assume that we can use the whole guild for this. I'll take the archers out of this one. Want to test the waters real quick. So instead, we'll bring a couple shapeshifters and all of our assassins. Let's just bring all the shapeshifters instead. So give us a really tanky front line to play around with. A couple specialists and we can bring 1 archer if I wanted to, because we have 7. I'll save the charm, because if it's a single entity, Leia's charm is going to be extremely powerful, so we'll hold on to that. Let's bring Bodo instead, because he's really not recommended, and he's perfect for testing the waters here. And then I want focus potions on all of my shapeshifters so they get their massive bonus health. Gotta find them first. And I'll bring 1 stun on Bodo. Inventory is so slow. Oh, I don't have nearly enough. Alright, we'll do 2. We'll try to keep everyone else alive. I will bring 3 stuns, because I'll give it to my specialists as well. If I can find them. Did I get past them again? There they are. Alright, need to keep in mind that I have this here. Plus 10 focus regen per second is very good. We'll probably give that to Leia. This is 7. Alright, let's see how this goes real quick. This is element. But first, let's see what he does. So Mighty, this trait can affect the motivation of its enemies. Oh, because we have some people that are afraid of it. Long reach, light. Level 101. Okay, that's a ton of damage. So the Archdemon Gaolash has arisen. Gaolash can either summon 2 undead minions, engulf its enemies in flames, dealing 453 magical damage, or executing an enemy dealing 90,700 physical damage. What the heck? Oh, forgot to heal. That's fine. We did about a quarter of his health, I think. So he's not that bad. I don't think bringing a full party of assassins will work because they can't all encircle him. Well, they might be able to. And I want a single frontliner. No one's really standing out to me, though. Because a frontliner only needs to last long enough for the summoners to start getting their summons out. Alright. Let's see how this goes. The focus damage might be worth it.
Looks useful.
Alright, let's get healing potions on my frontliners. I don't suspect that Glorious is going to last very long in this fight, which is fine. They're just there to get some damage off. Could use this instead. Because it's just Gaolash starting out. It didn't seem like the stun effect actually worked on him. That's one summoner down. Glorious went down before I could even heal him. Yeah, the summons are really keeping him tied down. This might actually be our last attempt. Or not. My front line's gone. I mean, he's at less than 50% health. We haven't used our A team yet. Not too shabby. Alright, let's do some assassins this time. Gonna just bring all of them anyway. Even if I do think it is extremely suboptimal. I'll bring a little crowd control with the Nagra. We'll bring Bilko, Thorben. Actually, you know what? Let's bring Lyrica instead. As far as healers go, I don't think he's gonna do very well in this fight, so go and use him early. Tosius usually does the most damage. I think Huck has really good equipment as well. She does a ton of damage if she gets her ability off, and Falkmar I think is pretty well equipped. I'll bring one of those. The other two I'm saving for Toltia and Razdoval. I mean, those are pretty good on him. Focus regen would also be very good. I'm gonna save it though. I should have brought Lei on this fight instead. Oh, forgot to heal. Had the opportunity to. Yeah, so it looks like he can't be crowd controlled. But we won anyway. I was hoping to lose that fight so Rayo could be the one to defeat him. That's why I was holding on to Rayo there. Plus his bonus is really good with archers and... yeah.
Impossible! Impossible! But it won't be for long. The barrier is no more. Then I'll regain my powers and strike this world with even more force. It's just a matter of time.
What should we do now? We are doomed! Grimguard has been broken!
I won't let that happen.
It's all my fault!
Sister, I can feel it. We will fix it. I love you.
I feel it as well.
Think about the good times we had.
I do. I miss them.
We will be together now. Together with Rilka. Forever!
In the midst of darkness, a miraculous beam of light blinded everyone around. When their vision cleared, the three siblings were nowhere to be seen. Grimguard began to pulsate with an otherworldly power, stronger than ever before. Everyone around understood. It was the souls of the siblings dragging Moriel back into the artifact. It was their sacrifice which saved the world.
Soon after the banishment of the greater demon, Fridor arrived to the scenery. As he picked up the artifact, the barrier was restored and seemed to be even more powerful than ever before.
Alright, the second part is not voice acted. In the years that followed, Fridor worked tirelessly to transform Arthania into a representative monarchy, with a strong feudalistic system that united the leaders of all principalities as equals. And so, under his wise and benevolent rule, the kingdom flourished and prospered, ushering in an era of peace and prosperity. The new king appointed Falkmar with the title Shield of the Realm, an honor that left him with mixed feelings given his vengeful attitude toward royalty. Nevertheless, he took the position seriously, often instructing the mercenaries within his guild that protecting Arthania not only meant defending it from enemies beyond Grimdark. Mara's memories of her dark past never faded, but the triumph over evil instilled within her a spark of hope that outshone the worst of them. It burned its way from her soul to her throat, allowing her to speak once more. And speak she did. Far and wide she became known as a fierce advocate for the downtrodden and persecuted, which sure to remind her brother Falkmar not to allow himself to be corrupted by his newfound power. Sorry if I'm reading these fast, but they're disappearing on me. Although the world was saved in the end, the horrors and tragedies that Razaval witnessed, coupled with the feeling of failure in upholding his vow to protect his charges, sent the old man into a deep pit of despair. Unable to cope and overcome with the urge to right his perceived failures, Razaval left Arthania in search of a way to resurrect Alra, Ryu, and Rilka. Ever hungry for knowledge, Ignis joined Razaval in his search, hoping to discover the location of the Great Tome, the Demonicum Arcana something. Holdor, joined by his wife Toltia, returned to the fields just outside Auspis to live a quiet existence of farming the land and caring for their beloved animals. Every night they would sit by the fire and talk in the wee hours of the morning, she regaling him with some exciting archaeological discovery, and making her laugh with an amusing anecdote or two. Toltia was skeptical she'd enjoyed the life farming alongside her husband Holdor, but soon found she had a knack for it, using her geomancy to quickly till and irrigate the soil each growing season. She spent her winters traveling and transcribing writings from cave walls all across the land. Each spring she'd return home to tell Holdor of her adventures. Gosh. Benny lived the rest of her days in the forests, hunting alongside the friendlier wolf packs, occasionally deviating from the trails to visit her old village and watch her mother from afar. She regularly visits Holdor on his farm, greeting him with an excited master, much to his chagrin. He very much enjoys her company. Amiya returned to Middlestead after the war, accompanied by Thorbin, who had confided in her stories about his troubled past. Upon hearing it was likely that Thorbin was still hunted by criminals, she vowed to protect him, smiled softly and told him she thought there'd be no better way of doing that than becoming his wife. Thorbin, loathing the thought of being anyone's burden, agreed on the condition that he was allowed to protect her as well. The two married soon after. Soon after these events, Orlish ran off into the woods, leaving only his abnormally large paw prints behind. No one ever saw Orlish the dwarf again. The rumors of Orlish the bear, however, continued to thrive, and are often used as stories to get children to behave. Jeez. Alyssa was glad the fight was over. Too many people willing to kill for free, too few willing to pay. Nevertheless, the next few years proved she had succeeded in her quest to make a name for herself. Succeeded a little too well in her opinion. Often her targets, upon hearing that the feared assassins Alyssa was on their trail, would off themselves, depriving her of a satisfying kill. Disappointing. She realized the only way to thrive would be to change her name and start the path to notoriety all over again. Before she left, some members of the guild asked for her new name. You'll learn it soon enough, she replied. Whew. If there's anything I don't finish, feel free to pause and read it. Puck returned to Samson as a liberator of enslaved. After turning the heads of many women on his adventures, Garth had finally found the one who was right for him. In no time at all, they had a child together, and Garth realized that he preferred the life of a father and farmer to the exciting mercenary life. With the restoration of Grimgard, the disease Demon's Tongue all but ceased to exist across Arthania. Curia, despite no longer needing a cure, continued her hunt for the legendary plant Ungari. Years later, on the day she found it, she wrote in her journal, "I have not done this for the benefit of the world, but simply to prove it could be done and done by me. I suppose should its discovery prove a boon for civilization, that this too would be a satisfactory, albeit unintentional outcome." Despite skillfully wielding his mighty hook during the war, Forrest never shook that sadness that came with losing his arm. He soon sought Borish, who agreed to make him a new arm under the condition that he promised not to return to arm wrestling. Boris agreed, but one should never trust the promise of a pirate. Well, word his legacy might be lost to time, he used his skills one last time to transform himself into a magnificent statue in front of the guild's hall, his name boldly engraved for all to see. Serena sought and received an appointment as an ambassador of Anyasil, assigned to Garaka, where she unceasingly worked to build peace and friendship between the two nations or cities. Abilka was killed almost immediately after the war was over, his body found beaten and broken behind a tavern. His tongue was found nailed to a post nearby attached to a note that simply read Rule Breaker. Melina considered a return to teaching, but found a hustler's life with Marlowe to be much more exciting. They both scoffed at the idea of marriage, but stayed together nevertheless, often combining their shadowy, spidery talents to wreak havoc on towns from afar, and then showing up to save the day, for a fee of course. Marlowe never said the words "I love you" to Melina, nor she to him, but they each knew it all the same. They spent their time together learning new and terrifying ways to combine his shadow magic with her arachnomancy, which they used to bilk the innocent people of their gold. If one were brave enough to seek them out, they could be found most nights deep in the darkest shadows, wrapped in a cocoon of webbing, asleep in each other's arms. A weird relationship. Casimir traveled to Orlandsgrab, where she quickly rose in the ranks amid architects and builders after she skillfully led the completion of the construction of the mausoleum, whose beauty and might drew tourists from across the land. Autochess left the guild sullen as ever, when one day a child asked him if he wanted to hear a joke. The clown shrugged. The little girl said, "Your face," before running away laughing. But she didn't get far before she tripped and fell face first into a pile of horse manure. Autochess found himself smirk, then smile, then double over with laughter. From that day forward, he was always able to find joy in life. Noki found herself drawn once more to the swamps and her cottage therein, where she regularly summoned creatures near and far to join her for a nice meal, a mid-afternoon nap, and a little conversation. Boris never found himself sober enough to fully understand that the war was over. He's still out there, trusty bottle in hand and mouth, fighting the demons of his mind. Millie found war to be an endurable pox to all things she deemed proper, but it was nothing compared to the trial she undertook after the fight had ended, teaching Brog to read and write. After inviting him to her village and to join her class, she daily fought through his stench instinct to plant knowledge within his thick head. With each new morsel of information, Brog would inevitably shout, "Brog learn, Brog learn." The children briefly refrained from pinching their nostrils to applaud him. Whew, this is rough. What luck indeed, when the capricious whims of fate saw fit to land me in the auspicious graces of the well-mannered matron of all matters of mind and magnanimity, Miss Millie. And lo, thanks to her fastidious, deftly applied tutelage, did this humble, oafish simpleton come to thirst for knowledge, and thereby grasp the quintessential truth nestled in the vast quagmire that is existence. To know is to lie, but to seek is to know. This ogre, dear reader, lives to seek. Bodo opened a restaurant, Bodo's Bistro, that was reviewed well by critics and poorly by customers, who often complained the atmosphere is ruined by the constant screaming coming from the kitchen. Boris was last seen entering his more ambitious invention to date. Eyewitnesses described it as resembling a sailing vessel without sails, bearing a giant forge-lined machine on its stern. The ship, for lack of a better term, then emitted a huge roar and launched itself into the night sky towards the stars, thereby shifting Arthania into a new class of civilization. For Krill, becoming the champion of the Koshgor tournament remained his dream. After carefully selecting the right teammates and putting them and himself through months of grueling training, Krill and his team became Koshgor champions not once but for 5 years running. Jorla's appetite for battle remained insatiable, and knowing that Krill was very much of the same mind, he joined his Koshgor team and found his success and joy at his side. Leia went on to become a very famous bard, especially in the halfling capital of Samcian, and was best known for her song Blood, which she wrote based on her adventures. But she felt like she had run out of stories to tell, to return to a life of adventure to create more. Lyrica considered returning home to his father. To do what, he wasn't sure. Ask for respect? Demand it? But in the end, Lyrica decided he owed his father nothing and himself a joyous, purpose-driven life. Inspired by Leia's songcraft and talent, he traveled alongside her across the land, bringing song and laughter to people everywhere. Hilda retired in the city of Barad-dûm as a hero, her pride restored with the death of the General Mortius. She spent her days target shooting for the joy of it rather than competitively, and eventually did independent work as a trainer and gunsmith for Barad-dûm's city guard. Kirk became tired of being bullied and ashamed of who he was, and decided to fully embrace his true nature, working day and night to increase the size of shapeshifted form and remain in it indefinitely. When he thought himself large enough, he went off to live with the tribes of giants. He quickly discovered, however, that compared to the giants he was still quite diminutive, and encountered just as much ridicule among them. Mosh had always loved mushrooms, and consumed them in great quantities until the day he died with a smile on his face, knowing he had lived his life to the fullest, having discovered the beautiful, terrible, strange, wonderful, transcendent truth that the fungi had shared with him. Garnak established an academy deep within the Principality of Taurus for paladins and dutifully prepared them for what he foresaw as yet another demon war. With Garnak by his side, vouching for his character and defending him against those who could only see him as a being of evil, Zul was able to reclaim his rightful place as the leader of the Wolf Clan. He spent his days ruling benevolence and making amends for the atrocities that he committed while possessed by Tasraman. Abrash became the best at absolutely everything he tried, in his mind at least. He spent his time repeating traveling to towns, boasting of his exploits until the townspeople were so sick of him that they kicked him out, and then moving on to the next one. Larasha left the guild with a flutter of her fingers and a wry smile. She continued searching for her lost son, using the skills and contacts she gained during the war to turn over every stone possible. Nagra dedicated her remaining years with her nose buried deep in tomes of ancient orc magic, translating and perfecting spells for future generations. Taking a respite from his recently undertaken quest to find and best a deadly, riddle-asking creature, Pori stopped at an inn. There I was, he'd later say, entertaining the customers with my wonderful riddles, being freely rewarded by them with many a fine beverage. And that sorry excuse for a mage, Doro, barges in with an answer. An incorrect answer, I might add. So of course I challenged him to a duel. The two mages fought well into the night, each blast of lightning or conjured void eliciting cheers and cries of foul play from onlookers. Then finally, after the last spell had been cast, each mage lay panting among their respective fans. We're trying to figure out whom should be declared the winner. When asked, Pori grinned and said, "Why don't you go ask the loser?" Doro took his various arcane materials to an inn, preparing to rent a room and convert it into a laboratory to continue his research. He was instantly distracted, however, by Pori, who was sitting at the inn's bar, betting customers they couldn't answer his riddles in exchange for drinks. When Doro pointedly interfered with Pori, scoring a pint of ale by providing a patron with the correct answer, Pori challenged a fellow mage to a duel. The mages battled for hours. When the smoke cleared, Doro and Pori limped to their respective corners, but it wasn't clear to the onlookers who had won. When asked, Doro smirked and said, "Why don't you go ask the loser?" Without so much as a farewell, the Shogun headed off in the direction of Giant's Belt, revealing as much about himself as he did when he arrived. Absolutely nothing. Yalis sought the thrill of the hunt in the wilds of the north, hoping to find solace in nature's beauty. Magnus's deep bond with Yalis allowed him to appreciate others almost as much as he appreciated himself. When Yalis requested his company hunting in the northern wilds, Magnus was only too happy to go. Morgul was ready to delve back into the world of high-end art theft when he met an incredibly enchanting and wonderfully talented sculptor named Bora. He became so enamored with her and her art that he no longer felt compelled to steal, as there was nothing he could steal that would be half as beautiful as what Bora could create. Lex decided to return to her thieving ways, but in a charitable capacity. Within months after the war ended, she had cultivated legendary status in Gastra for robbing the rich, blind, and providing for the destitute. That should say Gastria. Is that it? I did it? Alright. Whew. Really cool that they did that. A little epilogue for your guildmates. I do wonder if some of them change, or would change, if you didn't get certain companions. So like, Pori's and Doro's were intertwined. So if you got one but not the other, I wonder if that'd still be the case. But there it is, there's Kingsblood. Overall, I thought it was a pretty fun game. It has some cons for sure. But overall, I do think it was fun. It was a fun auto battler. I enjoyed the RPG mechanics. The art style was really cool as well. I really liked the character portraits and the item portraits. I do think that I liked the design of the skill trees, but I wish there were more unique ones for certain characters, or even for each character. I know it's a lot of work, but I did like how the skill trees were tied to each character's element. I think the biggest weakness of the game was the writing, and it's definitely an example of less being more. So, I think I mentioned it throughout the Let's Play at some point. The cities, I think instead of having all that exposition and flavor text, instead they should have had like bullet points. It's like, here's the population, how many, who lives here. Then have like a little snippet at the bottom, like, oh, I think it was Middlestead was the one that guarded the pass into the kingdom. Middlestead or Mieselheim, one of those. Started with an M, so like they could have had at the bottom of that, you know, is the city that lies at the end of the road between the mountains, or you know, something like that. So you know the purpose of the city, but it doesn't need to have several paragraphs. I did appreciate everything being voice acted. I mean, it shows a passion for the project that, you know, transcends your typical indie game. Yeah, I do wish that I have a lot of wishes for the game. The actual models when you're in battle weren't the 3D pixelated ones. I think they should have somehow incorporated the art from the character portraits into it. One, it would have made a lot of them easier to identify, because there's a few that looked very samey, and I sometimes had a hard time telling who was who. I like the, I'd say reward for winning more, but the difficulty increases, so I guess it's also kind of a punishment. Especially when the difficulty's maxed out and you have to defend from the undead. Because the invasion fights were definitely the hardest. But really, a lot of really cool design choices here. Like the blue quests, I thought were really neat how each city had its own like story quest. Then of course you had the overarching story quest. But yeah, overall, I mean, I think it's a solid game. Especially for an not ARPG, auto battler. There we go. Haven't played a whole lot of them, but I did enjoy this one. And compared to some of the ones that I have played, it's a solid experience. It could get a little grindy towards the end, especially if you're trying to max out all the cities, which I didn't have to do. That's on me. That's not the game's fault. And like hunting for the companions was fun too, and the companion variety. I love having a lot of companions in games, just in general. And this one had 50, right? I think it was 5 by 10. And like some of them were pretty hard to find. I think Boris was the only one that was truly random. May not have been random. I don't know if it was a story quest, like a blue quest that we got him on. But you just find him in a dungeon versus everyone else who you get kind of from natural progression or checking the taverns. The tavern mechanic was pretty cool too. The rumors are kind of whatever, but finding companions in the taverns was a cool mechanic. But yeah, that's gonna do it for this Let's Play. Again, I quite enjoyed it. I definitely had some glaring weaknesses, but overall was a pleasant experience. Thank you guys for joining me on yet another adventure. I hope to catch you guys in the next one.